Okay.
How's that?
All good?
All right.
Well, welcome to Manuka Oval, UNSW Canberra Oval, for the final game under the AFL Canberra banner for 2018. And this is the UNSW Canberra Women's AFL Grand Final for 2018. It is the Eastlake Demons up against the Queanbeyan Tigers. My name is Chris Coleman, and alongside me as the lights start to take full effect here at Manuka, it's Eddie Williams. Eddie, good evening to you.
Chris, good evening to you, and a pretty healthy crowd here to see this women's grand final, and it's been an interesting final series up to this point. Eastlake finished second on the ladder, but they beat the top place side Belconnen by 25 points in the semi-final to move straight through to the grand final. Queanbeyan finished third on the ladder, but they had a 31-point win over Ainslie in week one, and then beat the minor premiers Belconnen in last week's preliminary final. So both sides come into this match in good form.
They do indeed. As you can see, we're in readiness for this one. How disappointed will Belconnen be that they didn't make it through to the decider? That's the big question.
Last time these two sides met, Chris, was in round 11 with Queanbeyan winning by 27 points. Eastlake did win their two earlier games in the season, so I think we're headed for a pretty evenly poised match.
We are indeed. I've got to say, not the biggest fan of the Queanbeyan jerseys.
Yes.
You'll see why as the game progresses, because those white numbers on yellow backgrounds are very, very difficult to pick up, but we will do our very best for you here at Manuka this evening.
They'll have to change their theme song to yellow and black and white.
Well, quite possibly. Alana Bowyer in the ruck.
A free kick for a hold, and it'll go the way of the Demons. So another opportunity for Eastlake to get the ball towards half forward as they look for their second goal of the evening. 1-1-7 the Demons. Queanbeyan Tigers yet to score, and the ball is with Katie Rose, who's certainly having an impact. She's going to try and send the ball as far as she can towards the top of the goal square. It's out to the right, it won't quite have the carry, and it's marked in the last line of defence by the Queanbeyan Tigers. So an opportunity for Queanbeyan to try and take a bit of sting out of the game, although Rose again in good position, and this time, rather than having a shot, she goes into the corridor, and that'll be an easier shot on goal here for Eastlake. 30 metres out. Is that Elizabeth Hosking, Chris?
I think it's actually Najwa Allen, the hair over the number making it difficult, but it is Najwa Allen in the 16 jersey. They don't come much easier for this, men or women, do they?
Najwa Allen directly in front, got close to the player on the mark, made the goal umpire work, but puts it through, and Eastlake have the first two goals in the grand final. They're 2-1-13. Queanbeyan yet to score.
Well, so far, the benefit of playing in front proving for the Eastlake Demons what their men's side couldn't do earlier this afternoon here at UNSW Canberra Oval, where they spent much of the first quarter playing behind against Ainslie. They gave up a 5-goal lead and were never able to reel it in. The lead never got out past 40 points, but it never got back into single figures either. It was down to 10 and 11 points at various stages, but when Eastlake were playing in front, they looked a better side, but Ainslie had in that one. Eastlake playing in front in this decider so far in the women's competition, and it's yielding benefits for them. They've got a 13-point break over the Queanbeyan side. The rucks fly, and Katie Rose probably gets the best of it. In fact, runs around and pushes through for her own advantage. Kicks the ball to the vacant spaces at the southern end of Manuka Oval as we wait to see if the Queanbeyan can come away with it, and indeed they do. Bounces off the hands of the pack. But again, there's too many Eastlake jerseys there. Brearley puts them back into attack. And now underneath it, that was actually some pretty good play from Queanbeyan. Good tackle laid there by Stramandanoli. Ball in dispute. Stramandanoli in it for a secondary effort. Impressed by her form so far today. But it's the Demons going forward with Rowana Prince sending the ball into their forward line. But it actually trickles over the boundary line, and it'll be it's gone out of bounds on the full, in fact. So it'll be Queanbeyan to bring this back in. Look at around the grandstand side one more time. And then underneath it is Tani Evans. Evans takes the mark. Centre wing position. Bradman stand. Oh, good grab. I tell you, you're starting to see why Katie Rose is so highly regarded in this AFL Canberra women's competition. Taking another mark, so she's doing the rucking. She's taking the marks. She's taking shots on goal. She's doing everything for Eastlake at the moment.
And she's kicking it long, as we've been saying. Wilkins with the ball knocks it back into the field of play. And we might need another ball up just inside the boundary, forward of the wing for Eastlake, just near our broadcast position here in the Bradman stand. Eastlake up by 13 points. We've gone nearly 10 minutes in this first quarter as we see Allen going into the ruck for Eastlake. Wilkins again can't keep the ball in play. In fact, the ball has gone out of bounds on the full. And so another free kick for Queanbeyan going the way of Tani Evans, although the umpires have changed their decision. The field umpire and the boundary umpire have had a meeting, and they've decided they will throw the ball in between wing and half forward for Eastlake. We've spoken about some of the Eastlake players to watch from a Queanbeyan perspective. Tina Campbell started the year in defence but has moved forward since round 6 and was named in AFL Canberra's Women's Side of the Year. So we'll keep an eye out for her this evening. As Allen handballs it forward for Eastlake, she's getting busy early. The ball's kept in play there by Gray, but now she's coughed it up. Now an opportunity for Wilkins, who's also been near the footy early in this match. As we see Allen again taking the mark, 60 metres out from goal for Eastlake, doing all the attacking so far in this grand final. Allen just puts it in long. There's an open goal square. If Demant can run onto it, she goes with the soccer off the ground, but the ball was already heading through for a behind. That's Eastlake's second behind of the evening there, 2-2-14.
2-2-14 yet to score the Queanbeyan Tigers. Impressed in defence, by the way, by Tegan Tismer for the Queanbeyan Tigers as well, really making her presence felt and getting involved in many contests. Play on the far side of the ground now at the moment. Plenty of people getting involved in the play, and there was Tismer, in fact, getting in underneath the pack and not afraid to go in, show a bit more body contact. Still waiting for the ball to come free, and it's with the Queanbeyan players now. But this game being played almost exclusively in the Eastlake forward 50 right now. Picking up off the ground there was Wilkins, and Wilkins with a hand pass that really wound up going nowhere. We see it hurriedly shuffled around now to the outer part, to the grandstand side of the ground once again, and it is Queanbeyan making a lot of running. That would be Stacey Close, and Close has put the ball up onto the centre wing position. Now charging in underneath was Madeline Cherbera. So Queanbeyan, they're starting to get a little bit more possession together now. They need to, because they haven't really shown any willingness to score just yet. That's Tupper, Alicia Tupper. Let it bounce a couple of times. Waiting back of play was Tina Campbell. Didn't come in her direction. Instead, it's sent into the Pagans paddock area. It's a vacant forward 50, and it was Tupper who was on the chase. Still in contest, still in Queanbeyan's forward 50 as a clearing kick comes for the Eastlake Demons, and it's taken by Thea Wilkinson-Shaw. But the umpire has said, hold on. I want this to be a free kick for the Queanbeyan Tigers. I had the binoculars up, Eddie. I didn't spot what that was for. It was out of my field of view. What was it there? Did you see?
Not sure, Chris, but
okay.
It'll end up with a Queanbeyan Tigers shot on goal, and they've got plenty of fans in that left forward pocket that are enjoying what they're seeing in the past couple of minutes.
We'll see what Hannah Dunn can do here. Was clever play from Queanbeyan not to blaze away and blaze long. Look how many players on the goal line. It's old-fashioned footy, this stuff. When there's 6 or 8 on the goal line and another couple at the top of the square. Dunn will kick from about 35. Goes with the right foot. Low trajectory kick, but I think has just cleared the pack and is through. So Hannah Dunn gets the first goal of the day for the Queanbeyan Tigers. And the margin back to 8 points. Eastlake 2-2-14. Queanbeyan 1 straight goal 6. We haven't seen, between the top sides in AFL Canberra, we haven't seen a lot of high-scoring games during the course of this season. But I suspect, Eddie, this evening we might see plenty of scores.
And Hannah Dunn, a really good goal-kicking routine there. I thought maybe she just got a tiny bit close to the mark, but she knew exactly where she wanted to kick from. She kicked it very accurately, and she made the distance pretty comfortably in the end. And we've seen a lot of long kicks so far in this match, Chris.
We have indeed. And of all the women's competitions around Australia, I tell you, the AFL Canberra one is one of the stronger ones, as once again the Queanbeyan side, well, they get the ball from the ruck, but they try to go into attack, but don't get to go too far with it, as once again it's bounced around a couple of times, back and forth play through the centre square, and now running onto it, that is Carly Rez. Rez puts her side back into attack, and the mark taken by Megan Godfrey. Now this, I suspect, would see Godfrey too far out to score. She knows it, so she just goes for the short pass. Clever to Hannah Dunn. And Dunn, who had 1 goal just a moment ago, she's looking for her second right now. Little bit further out, I think, than the previous one, which only just made it over the pack, so she'll need a little bit more elevation, but her confidence will be up because she's got one on a bit of an angle. As you said before, Eddie Williams, a good goal-kicking routine from her. She comes in very close to the player on the mark, but it's off the side of the boot this time. And it comes off hands and over the boundary line No, it's actually been kept in the field of play. So I thought it was going to trickle over, but it didn't quite have enough on it. So instead, the Tigers, they pick it up and keep going with it. I reckon they might be dobing over there. Gee, it's hard to pick up some of their features on those bright yellow jerseys, but the Queanbeyan side, they're running it back in towards full forward. Who's underneath it? Well, in the end, it's a good defensive mark and potentially a free kick, but a good mark taken by Annie Brearley. And Brearley can get herself set for the Demons and put them back in possession.
So Brearley in the last line of defence goes long out to the half-back flank, but she's turned it over. So Queanbeyan having a bit of momentum in the past few minutes, and we've started to see Carly Rez get her hands on the ball as well. Another Queanbeyan player named in the Team of the Year who's had one of her best seasons on the wing. The ball's in the forward pocket here from Queanbeyan, not quite as precise this time with their movement forward. The umpire is waiting. The umpire says holding the ball.
It's Brearley who was at the bottom of the pack who's been pinged.
And 50 metres. So a certain goal now for the Queanbeyan Tigers. The ball wasn't passed straight to the player who'd won the free kick. Eastlake instead passing the ball almost to the umpire or almost to no one at all. And now Queanbeyan will get within 2 points.
And it's Megan Godfrey who on the free kick does the damage, puts it straight between the big sticks. And it's Eastlake 2-2-14, Queanbeyan 2 straight goals 12, 16-minute mark first quarter of the AFL Canberra women's competition, the UNSW Canberra women's AFL competition, if you like, here at UNSW Canberra Oval.
Very much a game of momentum so far, Chris. I know we haven't even finished the first quarter, but it already feels like a game of two halves.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Eastlake started the stronger, and the ball, I don't think the ball came past the forward 50 or into the forward 50 for Queanbeyan for the first 11 or 12 minutes, but in the last 5 minutes it's been almost exclusively down there. So maybe not two halves, but a 2-to-1 ratio at the moment, perhaps, as the Demons get hold of it. And it's Allen who had it, but she's been dispossessed just outside of the centre circle. Plenty of players in over the top of it, but the umpire has decided that it will be another ball up to happen.
Interesting how they're set up with only 2 forwards in Queanbeyan's forward 50 and only 1 forward in the Eastlake forward 50.
2 or 3 players fighting for to contest the ball in there. Lani Watson from Queanbeyan in over the top. Now the ruck work this time won by Godfrey down towards Watson, and Watson sends Queanbeyan into attack one more time. Ball into the path of Tina Campbell. Campbell, however, loses it, and it's taken away by Eastlake. Attempted kick off the ground from Wilkins. Umpire has found a free kick though, and so Queanbeyan will go back into attack one more time as the ball bouncing around inside their forward 50. Picked up off the turf by Hall for Eastlake, and Hall sets forward for a run over the head of a couple of players and gets it onto the chest of Wilkins. Wilkins has options outside, has an option in the centre. Will come around the grandstand side. Probably would have been best served to look for Melissa Johnson. Instead goes longer than that. Kath Johnson was the target. It's bounced over her head and tapped forward now by Chloe Armitage. Armitage tries to keep the ball in the field of play but can't do so. Bit of pressure applied to her by Tegan Tismer, who's been one of the best out there for Queanbeyan so far. But it'll be a boundary throw in 70 around from the Eastlake goal as the 18-minute mark ticks up on the clock. And it's quarter time. It's been a fast and furious first quarter here, Eddie Williams.
Well, we saw Eastlake dominate early, particularly Karina Demant inside 50 and Katie Rose in the ruck and all around the ground. But then Tegan Tismer in defence starting to get her hands on the ball. Hannah Dunn creating some opportunities inside 50. And the 2 goal kickers for the Queanbeyan Tigers are Hannah Dunn and Megan Godfrey, while Karina Demant and Najwa Allen have singles for the Demons. At quarter time, it's Eastlake 2-2-14, a 2-point lead over the Queanbeyan Tigers, who are 2 straight 12.
It's been a long day of footy here at UNSW Canberra Oval. We've seen 3 men's grand finals, and the grand finale for us for season 2018 here in AFL Canberra is the women's grand final. 1 quarter down with Eastlake leading 2-2-14 over Queanbeyan, 2 straight goals 12. The second term about to get underway. The last few fans making their way off the paddock.
And there's a good crowd in, Chris, and I know it's Eastlake's traditional home ground, but a big Queanbeyan contingent have made their way across the border tonight.
Well, they're looking to see if their side can pick up a premiership. Queanbeyan running to the right of your screen in this second quarter. The ball goes marginally in that direction as it picked up off the ground, though, by Rose for Eastlake, and into the forward 50 where there were just 2 players, and one of those who's charged onto it and now hands it off very quickly to Katie Nugent. Nugent puts the ball, Casey Nugent I should say, puts the ball in towards the goals, but it bounces through for a point. Eastlake probably could have taken a little bit more time there to settle down and take a proper shot, but instead they play on very, very quickly, and now it's being contested inside the forward 50. So we're starting the second quarter much the same way as we started the first. Largely it is Eastlake with the ball as Hosking takes a shot. That's not a bad looking shot. Oh, it's just touched on the line. 2-4-16 now. Eastlake with 2 points added in the first 40 seconds of the second term. Queanbeyan 2 straight goals 12.
Good defence there by Queanbeyan. And again, interesting to see both sides beginning this quarter with very few forwards as the kick out bounces and goes over the line without being touched. So it's a free out of bounds on the full. And Eastlake with another opportunity to send the ball towards full forward. There are only 2 players outside Eastlake's forward half of the ground. So very much both sides beginning with open forward lines and then I guess playing with a bit of congestion as Eastlake get the ball to Katie Rose, who has a snap on goal. It's away to the right and marked in the last line of defence. So a chance again for Queanbeyan to try and clear the ball. No mark on the half-back flank. Ball on the deck. Eventually Queanbeyan working it outside the forward 50, although Allen's in best position. She gathers for Eastlake. She goes with a high ball, but it's all Queanbeyan. And again, the Tigers with a mark in the last line of defence. So Queanbeyan again, as we saw at the start of the first quarter, struggling to clear the ball from their defensive 50. It's still around 45 metres out from the Eastlake goal. Katie Rose again wins the ball, manages to get a boot to it. It's bobbling around at half forward here for Eastlake. Trying to pick it up there. It looks like it might be Johnson. Plays on. In fact, it's Jessie Williams. She's caught. She's holding the ball. Tried to bite off a little too much, and now Queanbeyan with a free kick in the left back pocket.
Queanbeyan will take it away, and this will be Cassandra Taylor to work it around the grandstand side of Manuka Oval. Ball comes off the hands of Rose there, and still in hot dispute. Amy Dwyer, who's been one of the best for Queanbeyan out there so far, tries to keep the ball in play. For mine, that's gone out over the line 3 times, and the umpire has agreed with us, so we're going to throw in. This will happen right on the boundary of the 50 and the boundary line, right on the junction, I should say, the boundary and the 50 line. And the crowd getting right in, assisting the boundary umpire with the roar of the crowd as the ball comes back into play. Ruck work done by Rose, tapped back towards Rose now, chasing through underneath there is Jemima Johnson in the famous number 25 for the Eastlake Club. I'm sure Alex Jeselenko wore the 25 when he played here, Eddie. I'm sure 25 was his number all the way through his career. He did play here before he played in the VFL. Now running onto it is Allen. Allen has 1 goal for the day. Too far out for her to score on this occasion. In the headgear there, that's Jade Hamilton. And Hamilton, she's tapped the ball to her own advantage, turns it around, tries to get it out of dodge, but it's all red and black at the moment. And for the Eastlake Demons in there, I reckon that might have been Brearley who was having a crack at it. She's in there still, is Brearley. Now up over the top of the pack, and it winds up in the path of Naomi Sullivan. Hot potato at the moment, and the contest is very, very willing. Charging in underneath there was Lani Watson. Watson, she managed to get the ball to a teammate, and Queanbeyan, they finally get a chance to clear it, and it's up into the centre square where a good mark is taken by Tani Evans. Evans settles, drops back a few metres, and then decides to play on through the middle of the park as we see a good strong grab taken by Bowyer, Alana Bowyer, and this is smart play from Queanbeyan now. Just pick a target and kick to it. And they've done so, and they've got it there to Campbell. Now, will Campbell go for the long bomb? Oh, she's certainly shaping up for it. Kicks from just inside 50. Won't be long enough, but it bounces. Now, I think it's been touched by the pack. We'll wait and see. The Queanbeyan players are saying they didn't touch it. The Eastlake players, I think they're making claim that they did touch it. Conversation between the goal umpire and the field umpire. Wait for it, wait for it.
It's going to be a goal.
And it is! Well, it's a goal from long distance from Tina Campbell. She's bombed long, and you mentioned before, Eddie Williams, during the first quarter about the importance of long kicking in women's AFL.
And it was strange there. Eastlake had a player in the last line of defence, but she was standing about 15 metres from the goal line when that kick was taken. And you have to wonder, why wasn't there at least one, if not two, Eastlake players waiting there in the defensive goal square?
Mentioned it during the first quarter when we saw a shot on goal at the northern end, how there were 6 or 8 players in old-style footy standing on the goal line or up at the top of the square. We didn't see it at this end that time around, and it has not only led to a goal for the Queanbeyan side, it's actually given them the lead. They have 3 straight goals, 18. Eastlake have had the bulk of the possession but have been wasteful in front of goals, 2-4-16. 2-point game, but Queanbeyan, they're not in front by that much, and straight away it's Eastlake rebounding. I think that it was Hosking with the ball in the middle of the park, and then she's put it up into the forward line, and will be a set shot now coming for the Eastlake Demons.
Well, this is a really interesting game plan from Eastlake, where they're just isolating Demant inside 50 at every centre bounce. It's almost like the Wayne Carey sort of tactic. When you've got a forward in such good form, just leave them alone.
Karina Demant comes in, measures the kick to perfection. It's straight over the goal umpire's hat, and well, I said Queanbeyan had the lead. They did for about 33 seconds, but it's the Eastlake Demons back in front, 3-4-22 to Queanbeyan. 3 straight goals, 18, 6 gone, second quarter. UNSW Canberra Women's AFL Grand Final for you on the live stream for AFL Canberra and via NITV across the nation. Chris Coleman and Eddie Williams bringing you all the action from Canberra.
Well, we're goal for goal in this second quarter, Chris, and it's those 2 leading goal kickers for Eastlake. Katie Rose dominating in the ruck, and Karina Demant inside 50. 20 goals up till this match for Demant in just 10 games. 48 goals to Rose from her 13 games this season. But today it's Karina Demant stepping up inside 50 for the Demons.
Ball back in the middle of Manica, tossed in the air, and ruck work done unopposed by Eastlake, but very, very clever play by Queanbeyan because they managed to pop it down. Now that was Dunn who put it on to Campbell. Campbell goes for the high ball in towards the goal square. Couple of players around there. It's fallen to the feet of...
It's a Queanbeyan free for some holding here, Chris.
So we got a holding call, did we? Okay. And it'll be Alana Bowyer to take a shot at goal. Now, Bowyer has not scored a goal. She's played a dozen games for Queanbeyan this year. She'll be kicking from 15 out, directly in front more or less, and squeezes it in to the right of the upright. Gets her first goal for the season, puts her side back in front in the grand final. I suppose if you're going to get your first goal for the season, it may as well be to put your side in front in a premiership decider, Ed.
And Chris, on the score sheet, they don't write if it was a floater. They don't write if it just squeezed in. They just write that it was a goal. So well done there to Bowyer getting on the board. And all of a sudden, Queanbeyan back in front by 2 points and accurate kicking, 4 straight 24.
Well, what's the old story? More often than not, the side that kicks the most goals wins the game. That's how it works, isn't it?
Almost always.
Almost always. So Queanbeyan, well, they've got 4. Eastlake have got 3. But there's still a long, long way to go in this one. It's a change in the ruck duel here for Eastlake this quarter. Last quarter, it was Rose we saw in action. This time it's Allen, and Allen wins the tap. But it's a very hotly contested ball. In over the top there was Megan Godfrey for Queanbeyan. No free kick as Melissa Johnson was taken to the ground. So ball up just outside the centre circle. They tap it forward now through Megan Godfrey. Doesn't go terribly far though for the Queanbeyan side. And again, messy play. And we see a third bounce, a third ball up, and this one will take place a little bit closer to the centre circle. See if we can get it out of there this time. Big tap down, but again, big contest, big tackle late in the middle of the turf, and I reckon that may actually wind up being called as... I'm just waiting to see which way this goes. Yeah, it's gone as a dangerous tackle. And she doesn't look terribly happy down there. Melissa Johnson in those bright green boots, but she's going to take the kick. She does now. After being slung to the turf, she's put the ball inside the forward 50. That is a good mark, though. Good, strong mark by Alexa Hamilton, I think it was, who stood strong in the middle of the pack. Puts it now out in front of Tina Campbell. Campbell's been one of the best for Queanbeyan so far today. Turns the ball around, but it's been picked up this time by Eastlake. I thought there was a whistle in there. There was a whistle.
It's an Eastlake free. The umpire paid advantage, but play had stopped, so they've called it back.
So Elizabeth Hosking was set to play on, but elected not to after hearing the whistle. So Eastlake having led for a large proportion of this game.
50-metre penalty here, Chris. Perhaps a player over the mark or inside the protected area.
I've got to confess, I was looking further down the field to see where the ball landed. So they're going to get another crack at this now, Eastlake. And well, with the 50-metre penalty, this will bring them very, very close to scoring range here for Rohana Prince. We've seen already that she can kick the ball a long way. She's only going to have to go about 40 here, depending on where she decides to drop the ball. Goes with the left foot. It's a little bit wobbly, but it's through the sticks, and I reckon the umpire's going to give it both barrels. He does. She gets 6 points, and her team's back in front. 4-4-28 Eastlake. Queanbeyan, 4 straight goals, 24.
We've seen some really good goal kicking so far tonight, Chris, and it's about figuring out the goal kicking routine that works for you. And we see players with different routines, but clearly they're using a method that works for them. And again, we see a goal making the distance perfectly and going straight over the goal umpire's hat. And Eastlake back in front.
10 gone in the second quarter, 4 points the difference. I don't know about you, Eddie, but when I'm watching a grand final, I want it to be close, especially if I've got no emotional attachment to either side, and I don't have a foot in. I don't have a foot in any camp in the AFL Canberra. I just love it as a sporting competition. So I want it to be a close one. I want it to be decided in the last quarter, and I think we're going to get precisely what the doctor ordered here this evening at Manuka. Tap down, won by Allen for the Eastlake Demons, but again, very hotly contested. Now trying to pick that up there, I think it was Prince in the end who darted into the bottom of the pack. She's picked it up, but the umpire's whistle had already gone, so we're going to get another ball up just outside of the centre circle. Tap down goes the way of Eastlake and through a couple of sets of hands, and that time it was Jemima Johnson sending the ball forward. Queanbeyan unable to control it, and slung indeed off the ball there was Alexa Hamilton. Called as an incorrect disposal, so it's with Demont. Now Demont sends the ball into the forward 50. Rose will use her body weight and positioning, sets herself up and bang! Straight through. I wonder if Queanbeyan's couple of quick goals there have woken the sleeping giant. This Eastlake side suddenly looks to be playing with a little bit more direction and purpose, and Katie Rose gets her first goal of the grand final, number 49 for the season.
This is the first time I've seen Katie Rose play in the flesh, but I hope there are AFLW recruiters having a close eye on this match and on the whole season from Katie Rose, the leading goal kicker, second in the best and fairest, and I would say up to this point, Chris, arguably the best on ground, and very much having an impact in the ruck and all around the ground, now hitting the scoreboard and giving Eastlake a 10-point lead.
Well, there's plenty of highlights still to come in this one. As you mentioned, though, 10 points the difference. But every time Eastlake get away, Queanbeyan have so far been able to find a way to respond, and they do so now. They get the ball into their forward half of the field. Chasing after it was Alicia Tupper. Tupper did well to keep the ball in play and waited for teammates to arrive, and they're there in numbers now. Tani Evans in the 6 jersey tries to hang on to the pill herself, but can't do it, and it goes over the boundary line. Throw in to take place just forward of centre wing, grandstand side of Manuka. We wait for the ball to come back in. Boundary umpire now being directed another 15 metres around the field, so having to do quite a bit of work, the boundary umpires. Throw in from just a few metres in from the boundary line in this women's competition, and it's Eastlake who get the best of it. Mark taken by Tanya Taylor.
So Taylor coming off the bench and marking the ball on the wing, goes along the boundary line to Demont, who was pushed after she marked. Eastlake fans wanted 50. The umpire said no. Interesting to see Allen going into the ruck in this quarter while Rose goes inside 50. Now there's a 50-metre penalty again. Seems like it was someone over the mark or inside that protected area.
It's Jade Hamilton in the headgear, just ran in too close.
And Karina Demant being marched inside 50, and I think she'll be within range. So the player on the mark standing around 35 metres out. Demant will have to kick from probably just beyond 40, slightly to an angle at left half forward. Plenty of players getting back close to the goal line. Demant looking for her third goal. It's not going to be one. It's way out to the right. It won't make the distance. Still in play. It's a goal to Eastlake.
Well, we're going to do well to pick who that was. I reckon it might be Millie Drummond. She's the one getting the congratulations. She socketed off the ground.
And again, a long kick with players in right position, leading to another goal for the Demons, and they skip away to a 16-point lead.
And that is, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the 5th different goal scorer for this Eastlake Demons side. 6-4-40. Queanbeyan 4 straight goals, 24, 14 and a half gone.
And those 50-metre penalties are absolutely costly, especially in a grand final, and especially in a match with 18-minute quarters, to be conceding that much ground just for a simple mistake of running through the mark is a big punishment there for the Tigers, as it's one down by Allen, who's done a good job so far in the ruck this quarter for Eastlake. The ball's still in the centre circle. Prince with an opportunity to pick up the footy, can't get there. Queanbeyan ball. Now the ball in dispute. It's taken there by Hosking, who's brought to ground. Prince is lurking still. Knocks it forward. Opportunity for Drummond. Now it spills out for Johnson. The ball's at the bottom of a pack. Umpire says play on. Still Hosking trying to pick up the ball. Eventually, we will have a ball up in the centre square. Eastlake's forward half of the ground. More than 15 minutes gone in this second quarter, so not too far away from quarter time. Knocked down by the Tigers on that opportunity, but again, good pressure by the Eastlake midfielders to create another stoppage, and the ball will be thrown up virtually in the same spot it was thrown up just a few seconds ago. Again, clearance there for the Tigers, but not able to do much with it at the moment. Good pressure by Shu, who we haven't seen too much of early for Eastlake. Again, we have a stalemate. Again, almost in the exact same position, and we'll have another ball up between the centre circles and half forward for Eastlake. Queanbeyan starting to win a few hitouts, but not able to get too many targets as Johnson gets a hand pass forward. She couldn't find a target either. The ball again on the deck, just there on the edge of the centre square. Socked forward to Hosking. Hosking eventually gathers. She's tackled as soon as she picks up the ball. And again, we'll have a ball up. So now this game lifting in pressure.
It is indeed. 16 minutes gone on the clock, so the next 2 minutes could be vital for both of these sides' premiership aspirations. The ball still under contest at the moment. Umpire calling play on. Megan Godfrey finally gets it away for Queanbeyan, so they move a bit further into attack. Short ball coming from, I reckon it was Tupper, who sends the ball further into attack now for Queanbeyan. It's going to bounce around a couple of times in the goal square. Eastlake getting the best of it, but no, it's actually Tupper again. She turns around, tries to put boot to ball. I reckon that might be called an incorrect disposal, and it is. Just trying to throw the ball in the general direction of her foot as she was being tackled. Good defensive pressure from Rebecca Hall for the Eastlake Demons. She'll have the free kick. What's left? A little over a minute left in this first half. Eastlake would love to just go coast to coast at this point. They work it around the outside of the ground, but not to terribly much effect, I've got to say. There were several Queanbeyan players in there. And so it comes back in to attack once again for Queanbeyan. Flying over the top was Tani Evans. Evans couldn't control it. She'll have another crack at it, and it goes to the feet of a teammate. In Dobing it was. Now a shot at goal. Oh, it's pretty ordinary. Actually, it's gone all over the place. I thought it was going to be a shot at goal. Instead, it's come back out. And we're seeing Hannah Dunn laying the tackle for the Queanbeyan Tigers. And now it's Eastlake. They're going to have one last crack at things here as they're on the centre wing position. Ball in front of Nugent. Casey Nugent sends it back around trying to find Taylor. Taylor can't control the ball. And again, it's willing stuff at the moment from the Queanbeyan Tigers. Mark taken by Hannah Dunn. Dunn realises there's not a lot of time left on the clock. Puts it inside the forward 50 and finds a teammate who can't quite mark. Oh, unfortunate, and comes back to Dunn again. And Dunn takes the grab from just outside 50, puts the ball inside 50 as the siren sounds. Gee, where did that 18 minutes go, Eddie Williams?
This has been a fast-paced game, a high-intensity second quarter there. 4 goals to the Eastlake Demons. They move to 6-4-40. 2 goals in that quarter for Queanbeyan. They are 4 straight, 24. A 16-point lead to the Demons, but Queanbeyan not out of this match quite yet.
Not at all. This game, we've seen Queanbeyan score a couple in a hurry. They just need to continue to play in front and avoid kicking to a contest, and they'll do themselves some favours. But half-time here at Manuka, 16 points the difference. It's Eastlake 6-4-40, Queanbeyan 4 straight goals, 24. Third quarter gets underway in the AFL Canberra Women's Competition Premiership decider, and once again it is Eastlake sending the ball into their forward 50. Demant tries to take the mark, can't control it. Comes off the hands, and Jade Hamilton turns it around for Queanbeyan and sends it out over the far side of Manuka Oval now. Fastest to the ball is Hosking. Turns around, tries to get the kick away, but can't do so. Obstructed in the way, and the ball trickles out over the boundary line. Eddie, a short break here for half-time. 16 points the difference. What do you reckon the coaches would have been saying?
Well, from an Eastlake perspective, it's continue what they've been doing, kicking it in long, the forward line working well with Demant and also Rose. They've dominated the hit-outs, and it's just about gaining that ground, getting the ball in quickly and creating opportunities. And I guess Queanbeyan needs to try and defend properly, be in the last line of defence where necessary, and probably take on a pretty similar game plan in terms of the long kicking has also worked pretty well for the Tigers when they've gone forward this evening. Karina Demant, the only multiple goal scorer in the first half with 2 for the Demons. Millie Drummond, Allen and Rose all with singles. For Queanbeyan, Hannah Dunn, Tina Campbell, Megan Godfrey, Alana Boya all on the scoreboard.
Free kick for the Queanbeyan Tigers, and it's Laura Herring on the far side of the ground who takes it, puts it around onto the centre wing position. And Queanbeyan, they really do just need to play a possession game at the moment. Find players who are not in a contest and kick to them. They've got a couple in the middle of the ground, but instead continue to work it around the far side where there's plenty of contestability. And lo and behold, once again they turn it over. It's picked up off the ground by Shu for the Eastlake Demons, but there's another free kick been found in there, Ed.
Holding the ball.
Well, there you go. Very simple.
No correct disposal, prior opportunity, and the umpire paying a free here to the Tigers.
So Queanbeyan, they'll get a chance to go inside the forward 50, you would imagine. Plenty of players right on the arc there. Good, strong lead, and indeed a mark, or not mark not paid, but good work there.
High tackle, so another Queanbeyan free.
So it was Alexia Hamilton who had it, but she couldn't control the opportunity, but it does fall instead to Hannah Dunn to put them further into attack. And now they really do have a chance to put the ball through the big sticks here. It'll call for a big kick. But Ed, they're showing at the moment the value of just kicking straight and kicking to players who are leading in front.
Strong mark from Hannah Dunn. Let's see if she can finish off with a strong kick.
Well, the ball's in the goal square. It's in competition, but it comes away again. So, unfortunately for Tani Evans, she didn't have the legs on it. And the ball rebounds again. And we've seen Eastlake very, very good with the rebound footy. And once again, they prove to be that now through Melissa Johnson. Melissa Johnson tries to keep the ball in play, but it falls.
Deliberate.
Oh, deliberate. Well, there you go.
Didn't really have a teammate there. Handballed it towards the boundary line, and the umpires pinged her.
I'm just waiting here because there's conversation going on.
It is a Queanbeyan free.
Yeah, Melissa Johnson, who the free's been
played
against, she was really not terribly happy about it at all.
Well, they wouldn't want to have coughed up another 50 there for not giving the ball back quickly enough.
No, so hanging on to it while you're talking to the umpire, I think that is actually okay. It's when you muck around and don't do that you get in trouble. Dunn sends the ball forward now for Queanbeyan. It bounces around and past a couple of players. Chasing in underneath it was Shu. Shu in the 24 for Eastlake now falls back as the ball continues to bounce around. And I think we've got a player who's changed a jersey out there. I'll have to come back and check that one as we see the ball once again going into attack for the at the northern end of the ground. But it's just trickled over the boundary line again. So what have we got? 16 points the difference. 4 minutes gone. No score in this third quarter so far. But it's been largely Queanbeyan. They really do need to convert possession into points on the board.
It has very much been a momentum game. We've seen it played in phases, with Eastlake scoring the first 2 goals before Queanbeyan fought back with 2 goals of their own. And now the Demons maintaining a 16-point lead, which they took into the main break. But Queanbeyan with an opportunity here in the right forward pocket. The ball is on the ground. It spills out Eastlake's way. Again, the ball comes to the deck, and the umpire says holding the ball, play on to advantage. So the ball goes out of bounds, and a missed opportunity there by Queanbeyan, because they took the advantage and then they've kicked the ball out of bounds on the full.
Well, it was Hannah Dunn who took the advantage. May have been better poised to just stop and say, no, take the shot instead.
potentially she hadn't quite realised there was a free when she took the kick, as Eastlake now work it towards Rose. She's tackled, stands up, gets the hand pass away, but Tisma's there for Queanbeyan. Sends it towards full forward. In a pretty good position was Demand. Spills out towards Johnson. Again, Tisma going in hard. Knocks it out the back to a teammate. Tigers being pushed further and further away from goal. Now a kick into the forward pocket. It bounces away. It bounces towards the boundary line. And good defence there from Eastlake to take the ball over the line. It'll be thrown in forward pocket for Queanbeyan.
Lani Watson, the player who escorted the ball over the line, so keeping it down in that forward pocket. Couldn't do a great deal else with it, but didn't give the defence from Eastlake a chance to get the ball. And now the tap down is won by the Tigers. Tisma has a chance to get in there. Her opponent wound up getting in on top of it, and that was Allen. And so as a result, we get a ball up now. Similar part of the ground as to where the boundary throw-in took place. It was Rose who sent the ball forward. Just a moment there to Prince. Now we're seeing it socket up the ground here by the Eastlake side at the moment, but it only gets as far as the middle of the ground before the Tigers are able to turn around and rebound. It falls into the path of Tupper. Tupper, if she'd been able to get boot on ball, I reckon that it might have gone into open spaces and possibly even trickled through for a goal, because there weren't too many people there. Instead, now the ball's coming over onto the grandstand side of the ground. Oh, it's taken a horrible couple of bounces there from a Queanbeyan perspective, but finally picking it up is Tupper. She knocks it to her own advantage, picks it up, handballs to herself again. If she can keep it in play, that'll be a remarkable piece of play, but she doesn't. She's turned around and just turned too far, and it'll be a throw in. Where's
the sense of theatre from the boundary umpire?
He could have put a little more into the gesture there, couldn't he? It's definitely out of bounds as we see Tupper head off, and Stramandaloli comes back into the game. Uncontested ruck work, but very, very clever bit of sharking there, and that's got to be a throw, I think. Umpire doesn't pick it up.
He was just on the wrong side there, the umpire.
So just unsighted, as it was Hannah Dunn, who's been prolific for Queanbeyan since half-time. Tried to offload, but instead it just turned out to be get away with that one, but then a ball up will ensue. Centre wing, grandstand side, Marnica.
Rose in the ruck there against Alexa Hamilton. The ball ends up shinned and bounces over the boundary line. So we'll get a throw in front of the Queanbeyan Tigers interchange bench. The ball is between wing and half forward for the Tigers. They still trail by 16 points. We're yet to see any score in this third quarter. We've gone 7.5 minutes. Rose again getting her way in front, but knocked down by Hamilton that time for the Tigers. A high ball, Rose underneath it, knocks it forward. It's sharked though by Rez, who kicks nicely and hits a target in Evans. So an opportunity for Queanbeyan to go forward again. Mark dropped that could have been taken, and the ball spills over the boundary line just outside 50 for Queanbeyan.
Unlucky for Jessica Stramandinoli. I'll get it right before the end of the day, I do promise that. It's just a low trajectory kick. She had to dive for it, couldn't quite get a handle on it, and it spills over the boundary line. So 50 metres around from the Queanbeyan goal. And turning and putting it into their forward 50, it's Caitlin. Actually, it bounces around the top end of the arc in the end. That kick from Dobing, and we're seeing back in contest in the middle of Marnica Oval. It's such a big ground here when there's players chasing all over like flies on the honeypot. Nugent sends the East Lake side into attack now. It's been a long time since the ball's been up here. I hope they haven't got frostbite on this cool evening. Williams picks it up, runs for 10, runs for 12, decides to put boot to ball and hits the post. Oh, it would have been goal of the day. Would have been goal of the day in just about any of the games we've seen here. 4 games we've seen here. The only other one that I'd suggest would have rivaled it would have been the goal after the siren to win the under-18s game, which was a cracker. But that was a pretty decent effort by Jessie Williams. And is that our first score of this quarter? It is our first point in the quarter. It's taken 9 minutes to get there. And now Queanbeyan, they've turned around and they're running back around on the grandstand side, heading to the northern end of Marnica.
They can't quite get a mark in the centre of the ground. Doing well was Wilkinson Shaw there for Eastlake, and the ball is in dispute. Defensive edge of the centre square for Queanbeyan. It comes in the direction of Tisma, but then the ball evades her. Comes to Allen. Allen from outside 50 puts it into the path of Demand. The ball is bouncing and the ball bounces the wrong side of the post. Oh, that would have been another contender for goal of the day, but a behind. So 2 behinds in a row for the Demons. They move to 6-6-42. They've opened up an 18-point lead over Queanbeyan, who are stuck on 4 straight 24. We're yet to see a goal to either side in this third quarter, as Eastlake regained the ball briefly on the half-forward flank. They've turned it over again, but Well, they're exchanging turnovers here, Queanbeyan and Eastlake. Forward pocket for the Demons. Demant with the hand pass inboard. Another opportunity for a shot on goal, but the Tigers with numbers on the goal line can't quite rush it behind at first. Ball in dispute. Right forward pocket for Eastlake. Almost like a game of soccer at the moment. It's swung towards goal by Jesse Williams. Queanbeyan with numbers in defence. They'll be able to run it out, and a long kick gets them towards half-back and gets them a mark and a chance for the Tigers to take a deep breath there.
You had to say that just as it was just
Stramandanoli.
There we go. Thank you very much, Eddie, for continuing the call for just a moment as contest for the ball continues. Centre wing position, grandstand side, and it's Campbell. She's tapped it for herself, puts it inside the forward 50. There's only two players there, and it evades both of them, so the race is on. Who's going to get there? I think it might be Shu who wins over Godfrey. It is Shu. Gets it about 5 metres further up the field, but Queanbeyan, they're hot on the ball at the moment. Now over the top of it, it's Hall for Eastlake. Still plenty of contest for it. Ball kicked finally clear of the competition. Umpire a fair way back from the field. Rose comes in to try and get a hold of it. In front of her is Evans for Queanbeyan. So Queanbeyan going backwards to go forwards. Now they go forwards again. It's inside their forward 50. There's no one within 20 metres of it. The race is on. Who's going to get there? I think it might be Wilkins who gets there in the end. That's actually Shu. She gets there, but she sent it out. I was going to say she sent it out over the boundary line. There was nobody else within a mile of it, so it'll be a Queanbeyan ball.
Shu's using her boot a lot in this quarter, Chris.
Oh, exactly, yes. Making plenty of shoe leather use. Now, that looks like Alexa Hamilton here. Decides to go for the short pass. Gets it onto Hannah Dunn. Now, Dunn's just inside 50. She's got to look for someone at the top of the goal square. That would be the smart move. That's where she goes. It's off hands. Snapshot comes from Lani Watson. But Watson puts it to the left of the uprights, and Queanbeyan, well, they get their first point for the quarter. 4-1-25, Eastlake 6-6-42. 17-point ball game, 11:40 gone in the third quarter. If Queanbeyan can get the next goal here, they're right back in the thick of this. They're not that far off the pace.
Probably need Lani Watson to lift with that behind there. She is their leading goal scorer this season, but yet to score a major this evening as we see Eastlake work the ball out towards the half-back flank. Rose soccers it towards the boundary line, and the umpire this time says throw it in. Obviously decided that one was a skill error rather than an intentional soccer.
Very well disguised.
So Rose earns a throw in, and she puts her hand up to do the ruck as well. It'll be thrown in just outside the forward 50 for Queanbeyan. Rose again sort of got in front but couldn't win the hit out in the end. It was one down by the Tigers, but Eastlake managing to paddle the ball forward. Intercepted by Close for Queanbeyan, but her kick is smothered. Taken by Johnson. She's dispossessed. Now another smother. A lot of pressure on this contest. Again, it's socced out of play. Not on the full, on the bounce. Right
in the face of Monica McGrath there for mine.
We'll get another boundary throw-in just in front of the Queanbeyan interchange bench, and the crowd really involved in this match. Nearly 13 minutes gone in the third quarter. Knocked forwards for Queanbeyan, sharked by Tisma. Tisma tackled strongly there by Rose. Umpire called play on. The ball spilled out to Prince. Prince kicks it into the corridor, but it'll be chopped off by Dwyer. Dwyer now for Queanbeyan. Goes for a run. She'll send them inside 50 with an ill-directed kick, and it's chopped off there by Shu. So Shu called to play on. Just goes with a very high ball into the centre square. A one-on-one contest in the end. Didn't really favour Prince. And the Tigers win back the footy. They've got a pretty open forward line, although the Demons managing to get back in numbers, and they should win the race to the ball. The kick comes out towards the boundary line. It'll stay in play for a moment.
Big hit.
It was kicked over, but it was in fact already out of play. We'll have a throw in, and an Eastlake player just down.
That's Brearley.
Copping some pretty heavy contact there in that contest. All fair play, says the umpire, but now three trainers coming to assist Brearley, who remains off the field of play. So I suppose Eastlake now down a player at this contest. As we see, Allen went up in the ruck that time for Queanbeyan. Boyar was there for the Tigers. And running back onto the field of play there. So no harm done there to Annie Brearley. She's back on the ground. That's what the big cheer was for. She's in this contest again. She doesn't get the ball this time. It's spilt out the way of Johnson. Waiting at the back there is Jess Williams, who's been pretty busy this quarter, but good pressure from Tisma. Sees the ball won again by the Tigers. They swing it towards half forward. Intercepting it there was Brearley, and Brearley's kick is a turnover itself. It's chopped off by Stacey Close.
Stacey Close has it now. able to put Queanbeyan back into attack. They need the next goal here to really put some scoreboard pressure on the East Lake side. It was a good little play there by Hannah Dunn. Gave it to a teammate, got it back. Now puts it down towards goal, but in defence, strong work by Annika Shue. She's been best on ground
Really
this
good
quarter,
in this quarter
for mine. And putting a potential best on ground for the game up for grabs as well, because the third quarter, as we know, is called the Premiership quarter. Fumble there coming from Tani Evans. Really one that she should have taken. Spills it over the boundary line. It'll be a throw in, 50-metre line for the Queanbeyan side at their attacking end. They've had a lot of possession up there into the ground, but they've only been able to turn it into 1 point so far in this third term. Ball goes to ground. Eastlake favoured to come up with it via Nugent, but Nugent gets tackled there, and it's Hannah Dunn, who was also one of the best out there for the Queanbeyan Tigers this evening, doing the tackling and shutting play down. We see get another ball up. Ruck work inconclusive, I suppose. Socket out of mid-air by Bowyer, putting Queanbeyan back inside the forward 50 again. But once again, the Eastlake defence proving strong. But good, brave mark by Hannah Dunn, because there are a couple of players encroaching on her part of the ground. Now she sends the ball forward. Well, she tries to, but it's been absolutely monstered on the way through, and it rebounds to Nugent. Nugent gets a tackle, a kick away underground, only as far as Dwyer. Dwyer is absolutely set upon. Oh, you want a good tackle? That was a good tackle. Didn't have a chance to get the ball away beforehand, and the umpire says it'll be a ball up.
That's the one you want in a textbook, Chris, that tackle there by Demand. That's exactly the way it should be done. As the ball's picked up by Melissa Johnson, she swings it out to the wing where Eastlake have numbers, but it was well done there by Close to knock the ball away, and eventually it bounces over the boundary line. It'll be thrown in just in front of our commentary position here in the Bradman stand. Eastlake leading by 17 points. The game has tightened up in this third quarter. Just 2 behinds to Eastlake and 1 behind to Queanbeyan after a relatively high-scoring first half. The ball comes out Eastlake's way. Trying to pick it up there and succeeding is Jessie Williams, who's had a pretty good quarter. She kicks in the direction of Demand. Too strong, takes the mark, too far out to score. No one inside 50, so she just has to wait. She sets it up in the Hosking direction, couldn't quite drag in the mark. Still a chance here for Eastlake there with Katie Johnson. Gets it working forward towards Sullivan. Hosking gets there as well. It's paddled out the back, and Queanbeyan with numbers swing the ball outside 50. It might be coming back in though, because Eastlake have players around the ball, but Melissa Johnson couldn't tap it to a teammate. And Queanbeyan now in relative safety in the centre of the ground. Good play there by Shue again for Eastlake. Can't come up with the ball though, and again the Tigers just working it forward by inches. Sitting back is Melissa Johnson there for Eastlake. Gets the kick towards half forward. It cleared Tisma. Intercepted though by Close. Close gets the ball moving out to the wing, and now another opportunity for Queanbeyan to reload.
They do indeed. They're on the far side of the ground. They've only got about 25 seconds to get it down towards the goal, and a set shot can take place after the siren if they can make it down that far. At the moment, plenty of players willing for it, and I think it's Rose from the Eastlake Demons who repels the attack. 13 seconds left on the clock, so there's not much time for either side to do anything. Tisma has it, ducks under one tackle, but then is wrapped up on the second attempt by Prince. Now
Free kick to Tisma.
She's got the free kick, but unfortunately for her, the siren sounds. And so, after a very entertaining quarter, not often you'll say that about a quarter of footy where you only see 3 points scored, but a very entertaining quarter of football. It is a 17-point ball game. Queanbeyan have a lot of work to do. It's not mission impossible, but there's a lot of work to do for them at the moment. 3-quarter time at Manuka. It is Eastlake 6-6-42. Queanbeyan 4-1-25.
Well, the Queanbeyan Tigers trailing Eastlake by 17 points at three-quarter time, with Queanbeyan searching for back-to-back premierships. They beat Gungahlin in the grand final last season, but at three-quarter time they find themselves up against it a little bit. Eastlake 6-6-42, leading Queanbeyan 4-1-25. Eddie Williams and Chris Coleman with you ahead of what should be a pretty gripping final quarter, Chris.
Should indeed be. These sides have met multiple times this season. Back in round one, it was 33-18 to Eastlake over Queanbeyan. In round six, it was 52-25 Eastlake over Queanbeyan. And in round 11, it was Queanbeyan 50 to Eastlake 23. So Queanbeyan, they're capable of putting on multiple goal quarters. They need to do that this afternoon as the ball goes down in the centre.
Who will get the all-important opening clearance of the quarter? It's looking like Eastlake should be able to get a possession here with Hosking winning the ball. Runs out, I beg your pardon, it was in fact Jessie Williams. She's dispossessed, the ball goes over the boundary line. It'll be thrown in between wing and half forward there for Queanbeyan. So the Tigers, they need an early goal, only an 18-minute quarter. So they need to score pretty soon to try and trim this margin, but it's definitely not unassailable. 3 goals is what the equation is for the Tigers. They win the hit out there through Boyar. Good pressure by Melissa Johnson for Eastlake. Boyar still involved in the contest. Working through was Brearley for the Demons, and now the ball is moved out towards the wing. There's a one-on-one contest in front of the Queanbeyan bench, and it's picked up there by Evans for Queanbeyan. Can't do much with it, but still the Tigers come up with the ball. It's swung along the boundary line. But Eastlake setting up well, and they've won the footy back between wing and half-back. They'll look to work this broadcast side of the ground. Just with a long kick to a contest, Rose was sort of taken out of it.
Oh, good grab by Evans.
And Evans comes up with the ball. So a bit of aerial ping-pong to start this final quarter as Evans drives it long, can't quite find a target. Shu was in best position, does well to gather, works the hand pass forward. Jessie Williams is there again. She can't grab the ball. It's taken over the line. And another throw-in around 60 metres around from the Queanbeyan goal.
Tina Campbell diving over the line as though she was a rugby league winger scoring a try there. Madeline Cherbera out there now for the Queanbeyan Tigers in the bright yellow boots. They're the easiest to recognise boots in the whole game out there. Just quietly, we see the ball back into the field of play. It's taken by Dunn. Dunn turns around, sends her side back inside their forward 50, off the hands of Alexa Hamilton. But it goes over the boundary line. Throw in, so Queanbeyan, they're working the ball around. No time on in this game, so sending it out over the boundary line, not necessarily the best thing for them to do, but it's a whole lot better than giving it over to the opposition. There's everyone bar 2 players inside the forward half for Queanbeyan, and everyone bar about 6 players inside their forward 50 at the moment, so it's very crowded. Hand pass comes away into the path of Cherbera. Cherbera then gives it away to Boya. Boya swings and really misses. May have just grazed the side of her foot as the umpire calls play on. There's 3 or 4 players in a pack there as we see running around with it and putting it onto her right foot was Dobing. Dobing puts the ball across the face of goal, and we see a free kick now being called for. I was watching further ahead of the play there, Ed. Did you see what the call was for?
It was holding the ball, and initially the umpire pointed the wrong way, but it is it is a Queanbeyan free.
Okay, he signalled one way, then the other.
He signalled 3 ways there.
He signalled 3 things, and I think there was 2 infringements, and the trip was the first of them, I think, in the end, is how that's all worked out. So Queanbeyan, they get the shot on goal. Well, it's not quite long enough. It was a decent old kick there from Georgia Stevenson, but the ball's still in dispute. Queanbeyan's deep in attacking territory. Bumped off the ball was Hosking. That was good work there from Queanbeyan, but they've got struggling with the numbers at the moment as we see the ball now fall into the path of Cherbera. She turns around, she drops it onto the right boot. No one able to take a mark. It's bounced off the hands of the pack. Chasing over the top of it. I reckon that might be Alexa Hamilton, and she's been driven into the turf. So she gets a free kick for a push in the back. Does Hamilton?
I was about to compliment Annika Shu on how important her game's been in defence in this second half, with Eastlake only conceding the 1 behind, but unfortunately just a bit overzealous there with that tackle.
Oh, we had the old 4 dozen there. It was 24-on-24, Eddie. Shu and Hamilton comes in, set shot from a pretty acute angle, but it looks good. The teammates all celebrate. We go from a 17-point ball game to an 11-point ball game. It's what you want in the grand final, and Alexia Hamilton does what she has to keep her side in this game. She scores the first goal of the second half, first goal of the final quarter. Queanbeyan's accurate kicking keeping them in it. They're on 5-1-31, Eastlake 6-6-42.
That is exactly the start the Tigers needed in this final quarter. As we say, they've been to the top of the mountain before, winning the premiership last season. They know what it takes. And they're right back in this match. 4.5 minutes gone in the final quarter. The margin now back down to just 11 points. So only 2 straight kicks, and they have kicked pretty straight this evening, the Tigers.
They get the next one. We're down to a 5-point game with about, say 9 or 10 minutes to play. It's what you want in a grand final. Ball in dispute in the middle at the moment, and it's tapped away there by Tegan Tismer.
And interesting to see Tismer seeming to be spending a bit more time in the midfield and up the ground as this game goes on. Jessie Williams getting a lot of the ball. Kicks Eastlake inside 50 out into the path of Sullivan. Sullivan's wrapped up holding the ball. Free kick Queanbeyan.
Don't call it off in the box, Eddie, but sometimes it's just the instinct that takes over.
The first half was the forwards game, and the second half has been well and truly dominated by the defenders for both sides. Really couldn't complete the mark there for Eastlake, and now the ball is in dispute. It's knocked out towards Rose. Rose running onto the ball, picks it up, left foot kick forwards, tumbles through the legs. Great pressure by Nugent. The ball again in dispute. Rose lurking, running in hard. Shrugs the tackle, gets a right foot kick away out towards half forward. It'll bounce towards the 50. Good pressure by Katie Johnson. And they'll win a stoppage right on the 50-metre arc here. Eastlake just before the ball was about to spill free. A bit of push and shove here.
Now Cassandra Taylor from Queanbeyan took exception to something there. She gave her opponent a bit of a facial.
And the umpire throws the ball up to try and get the players moving on. I'm not
Smart
sure who was
umpiring.
doing the ruck there, but it ended up with Tismer winning a hit out. And now a free kick for some contact below the knees going the way of Katie Rose, and a big cheer from the Eastlake fans here at UNSW Canberra Oval as Rose, who performed very strongly in the first half, goes with a very long ball towards full forward. There's no mark. Tismer does well to gather, feeds the hand pass into the back pocket, and now the Tigers, they'll look to run the broadcast side of the ground, but as we so often see here, sides kicking the ball straight to the ruckman, who's camped in the perfect position. And another mark for Katie Rose. So perhaps went a little quieter in the third quarter, but Rose starting to lift again in the final term. Goes with a low ball inside 50. No mark there to demand. The ball's on the ground. There are players over the top of it. We'll have a ball up inside 50 for Eastlake.
Plenty of them as well.
Every player in the Eastlake half of the ground.
You get the feeling this is really where Queanbeyan's season will be decided. If they can get the ball out here and get a goal from it, then they'll be doing well. But unfortunately for them, great smother. Who was that over the top? That was Tani Evans who went in for the smother, because I can tell you off the boot from Jessie Williams, that was going straight between the sticks. Tani Evans does absolutely everything to keep her side in this one, and it'll be a boundary throw-in. As I was saying, this could be make or break for the Queanbeyan side. There's 11 points in it.
And the furthest player back from this contest is standing at the attacking edge of the centre square, so everyone well and truly up the ground.
Queanbeyan did the best from the ruck work, but again, it's been pounced upon by Casey Nugent, and Nugent is tackled. Ball is held to her, no chance to get rid of it. Umpire goes for yet another ball up, so we see it tapped away. Now coming through the middle of the pack, I reckon that was done. She sends the ball into quite literally the vacant half of the field. So what's your stamina like over there? I'm not sure whether it's Rez, but we'll see who's going to chase onto it. Well, it's soccer, and it's going on and on. It's Alicia Tupper. I think she just ran out of petrol tickets in the end, but there's still plenty of yellow jerseys flooding up the ground. So Eastlake, they have to work very, very hard to clear this one. It only gets as far as the middle of the park. And now we've got some real contest happening for the ball. Over the top of it comes Drummond. Drummond is driven into the turf, and the umpire will say, I'll have this. No, the umpire doesn't allow play to go on, and it comes free into the path of Henry. Alison Henry for Eastlake, though, not fast enough. And once again, the Queanbeyan side, well, they're on the rebound. They couldn't use the rebound last time, but this time they got a few more players up the field. But the first one to it will be Hosking for Eastlake, and she turns around again. So we are now seeing, you saw some aerial ping pong earlier, Eddie. We've got some more happening on the far side of the ground. And once again, it's the Queanbeyan side going into attack towards the southern end of Monica, flying over the top. Good grab. Now, that was Alexia Hamilton. Hamilton, she puts the ball inside the forward 50. It bounces and bounces and goes over the boundary line. But it'll be a throw-in and attack for Queanbeyan. What have we got? 9 minutes remaining. 11 points the difference. Ball deep in attack for the side that's down by 11.
Plenty of time left, Chris.
Plenty of time indeed.
Boundary throw-in, left forward pocket here for the Queanbeyan Tigers, trailing by 11 points, going to the right of your screen to the Monica Shops end this quarter. Boundary throw-in, one down by Rose, and won it down pretty decisively to a teammate. The kick is intended for Hosking, who gathers, tries to give the hand pass backwards, does pretty well, as Eastlake use that outer side of the ground in front of a pretty strong contingent of fans there on the hill, sitting right in front of the hill stand on the wing. Eastlake nudging the ball forward by degrees. They get it forward towards Demand. Can't take the mark. She's got two Queanbeyan defenders there for company. They've got the ball, but good pressure by Drummond, who's starting to step up in this final quarter. Umpire just waits, calls play on. Throw a blanket over a lot of players. A free kick is picked out here, going Eastlake's way. They get the ball moving quickly towards Demant at half forward. Can't juggle the mark. And now Queanbeyan will rebound off half back and they'll use the outer side.
Hamilton it is who sends the ball around that far side of the ground. Now getting onto it over there. I may have been Godfrey. Gee, it's hard to pick those jerseys when they're a long way away. As we wait and see. Slung to the ground. And an illegal disposal as the ball spins free in the tackle. So for Queanbeyan, well, they've got a chance to do something with it. They work it back in towards the middle of the park. Target there was Bowyer, but the ball falls short. So now we're playing soccer in the middle of Monica Oval.
We've got a player down at the half-forward flank for Eastlake, Chris, and a stretcher is being brought onto the field. So we will have a stoppage here.
Now, I didn't see what happened. I'm assuming, Eddie, you like me were watching the play.
It's well off the ball, and there is just one player down on the outer side of the ground, just about 70 metres out from Eastlake's goal, sort of near the old Jack Fingleton scoreboard. So we'll now see, I suppose we'll see the clock stop.
The clock has actually stopped.
So we've gone 10 minutes and 52 seconds as both sides come together to regroup, and running onto the field here is Jesse Williams after a short break for Eastlake.
Now, I'm not sure, but is that Rose?
I can see Rose in the huddle.
Rose in the huddle? Okay. I'm just trying to pick. It's a long way away, and there are trainers obscuring most of my view. I could see the dark hair, and that was really what I was guessing at. The Eastlake jerseys, as far as I can spot anyway, Eddie, don't have a number on the front, so it does make it very difficult for us.
As that player now being stretchered off the ground. And a bit of a hush around the oval.
I'm looking across to my right to see if anyone else in the room can pick up who that player may be. We've got no idea at the moment. We'll see if we can find out for you. So here's the situation as we have this unscheduled stoppage in the UNSW Canberra Women's AFL Grand Final for 2018. So we have 7 minutes and 8 seconds remaining. Eastlake 6:42, Queanbeyan 5:1:31. And that means an 11-point difference. And Queanbeyan, the ball at their attacking end of the ground. Eddie, before play resumes, a quick final bit of analysis before we get into this final 7 minutes.
Yeah, well, we've seen an even spread of goal kickers from both sides tonight, Chris. Karina Demant, the only multiple goal scorer with 2. The rest have been singles for Eastlake. Millie Drummond, Roanna Prince, Najwa Allen, Katie Rose, all getting on the scoreboard for Queanbeyan. Hannah Dunn, Tina Campbell, Megan Godfrey, Alana Bowyer, all with goals. And it's very much been a defensive style of game we've seen in this second half, and a pretty frenetic final quarter, Chris. And I'm just trying to figure out, I think it might be Demant.
Well, the left shoulder is indeed strapped, and I think she's the only player out there with a left shoulder.
She was the deepest forward, and it now seems like they've moved Tanya Taylor as the deepest forward. So that's a big loss there for Eastlake, with the only multiple goal scorer of the match coming off the ground injured. And I did see, I'm not sure whether it was on camera or not, but I did see the trainer who was carrying, one of the trainers who was carrying the stretcher was signalling call an ambulance, as Demant was clutching at the upper part of her left leg, or perhaps the left side of her hip. So let's hope that
she is okay. But let's get back into play at the moment as we see the Eastlake side going into attack with Nugent. Nugent puts it inside the forward 50, but there's nobody at home for them at the moment, and the mark is taken by Stacey Close. She's had a good game here for the Queanbeyan Tigers. Looking for Hannah Dunn on the grandstand side. Ball clears her. Tapped forward by the Eastlake side, but only as far as, I reckon that might be Brealey again. No, it's not Brealey. It was Johnson who was flattened in there. I was going to say, if it was Brealey flattened again, she really hasn't had a terribly good night. She's been falling under a couple of trucks. But the ball now, well, it's not where the Queanbeyan side want it. They need to get a goal and they need to get one fairly quickly. That's going to be out on the full, so they'll get possession here. It was Johnson. So Johnson's had a pretty ordinary minute or two. She was flattened and then sends one out on the full. 6 minutes remaining. Queanbeyan need 2 goals. And they will be able to set from Amy Dwyer. She works it, well, she doesn't work it around. She works it into the woman on the mark. It goes into the path of Hannah Dunn. Dunn tries to soccer it through the pack. Can't do anything. Johnson, she's had a pretty ordinary couple of minutes, but she manages to get the ball a couple of metres further up the ground. Then into a Queanbeyan Tigers player who is absolutely mercilessly ridden into the turf there. I reckon it was Dobing who copped it. And it's a ball up. 60 out from the Eastlake goal.
It's knocked the defensive side of the contest as Eastlake trying to work the ball forwards there through Allen. She kicked it in the direction of Gray, who couldn't take the mark. It spilled out to Rose. Rose has turned it over. Now the Tigers move it out towards the wing, out near their Queanbeyan Tigers logo. The ball was won by Brealey, who worked it along the boundary line. Johnson there, Jemima Johnson, couldn't take the mark. It was knocked out of play. We'll have a throw in between wing and half forward for Eastlake. They're hanging on to an 11-point lead. 13 minutes gone in this final quarter. Less than 5 minutes to go in the women's grand final at AFL Canberra. Rose got hands to it, couldn't really find a target. It spilled out to Tisma for Queanbeyan. She was dispossessed. Now the ball skews out towards the boundary line and over the boundary line. So a free kick going Eastlake's way, just between the interchange benches, right in front of our commentary position on the Bradman wing. It's Annie Brealey with the ball. She's been lively in this final quarter. Just goes back and soaks up a bit of time. Brealey with a high right foot kick. Her teammate slipped over there at the crucial time in Drummond, but it ended up okay for her, and Drummond's kick finds a target on half forward. Katie Johnson has the ball. She just waits. Again, takes up a few seconds, puts it to the hot spot.
Oh!
And it's a mark to Georgie Gray. We haven't seen too much of Gray, but she could be about to seal the grand final for Eastlake.
Again, not a huge goal scorer. She's only bagged 3 for the season. They don't get much bigger than this.
Georgie Gray, a low ball, doesn't have the carry. No mark. So it's just hovering outside the goal square for Eastlake. The umpire's going to pay holding the ball. And it's a Queanbeyan free at full back.
Well, Queanbeyan, they're going to have to go straight up the middle here. They don't have time to make it twice up the ground by working it around the wing, but instead they do work it around the wing. They've got too many numbers there. Pack flies, nobody able to take it. Ball being tapped forward there by Hannah Dunn. She's trying to claim for a free kick and claim for some interference. She's got the ball and she's got the free. So she's done well, but she needs to play on quickly. Does so, works it around the grandstand side. There's nobody forward of this pack of players at the moment for the Queanbeyan side, and the thing they could not afford to do was to give it to an Eastlake Demon, but they did in Hope Wilkins. We're into the last 3 minutes now, and Wilkins puts the ball forward up to the 50-metre arc. It's off the hands, falls to the feet of Jessie Williams. Williams taps it around the outside, gets it onto Prince. Prince puts the ball inside the forward 50. Could this be the icing on the premiership cake for the Eastlake Demons? Drummond is in there, plenty of other players in there as well. Ball comes out of the pack, no one really able to get any ascendancy on it. It comes back once against to Rohanna Prince. Prince puts a ball in towards the top of the goal square, and now Queanbeyan, they've got to work, and they've got to work quickly, but they've done, Collard, absolutely coat hang at his haul. She's cleaned up with a classic coat hanger. She goes to ground, and I suspect that it's going to take her 20 or 25 seconds to take a free kick here. And that means, Eddie, I suspect that the Premiership Trophy will be heading the way of Eastlake just down the road.
The clock is starting to well and truly be against the Queanbeyan Tigers here, Chris. We've played nearly 16 minutes. Eastlake will get a shot on goal. The result, I suppose, not too important at the moment, just the matter of being able to soak up the clock here, Rebecca Hall, as she goes back. And I guess now she can take that full 30 seconds.
Absolutely.
As she sets herself to send the ball towards the goal square.
On about a 30-degree angle. Runs around to actually open the goals up a little bit, puts it in towards the square, and it's touched off hands and goes through for a point. So 13 points the difference. In some ways, actually, a point's probably a better result for Eastlake because it means Queanbeyan have got to go the length of the ground twice instead of the ball coming back to the middle.
A handy point, Chris. So one last roller that I see for Queanbeyan. They need to make something from this kick out. This time they go straight up the guts. It's a pretty good option. Boyar's there. The ball evades her. Eastlake win the footy. Only momentarily. It skews out towards Wilkinson Shaw, but she couldn't pick it up. So another chance for Queanbeyan. Good pressure there by Roanna Prince, who's been a good performer. Goes in hard again, Prince. She's at the bottom of the pack. Will have a ball up between wing and half forward for Eastlake. And as the seconds tick on, the Eastlake supporters getting more and more excited. They can sense that a premiership is not too far away. Allen went up in ruck that time, won it down. It's kicked forward by Wilkinson Shaw. Ends up in the path of Williams. Williams kicks it towards full forward where Rose was just caught at the back. So Queanbeyan again going up the guts, and they've got a pretty open forward line if they can work it.
Pretty open. Let's try incredibly open. There's nobody inside the forward 50. Players streaming from everywhere, but waiting underneath it, showing great courage for Eastlake is Annika Shue. She's been one of their best in this second half and might wind up picking up best on ground for the day. And Eastlake, well, they can now just absolutely kill the clock, and they know it. There's 20 seconds left. They'll pop it around the outside. Melissa Johnson, she was the target, and I think that's actually probably pretty clever from Melissa Johnson. She's let it go over her head.
It's a free kick for a push here, Chris, and it'll go Johnson's way.
She's copped the push.
Queanbeyan fans not happy.
A little bit of frustration there from Alexia Hamilton, perhaps. But the siren sounds before Johnson can take her kick. She doesn't care. She holds the ball aloft. She sends it finally into the middle of the ground. But if you want the face of absolute jubilation, bear in mind this Eastlake Demons club, they've had some pretty testing times this year. They run the Canberra Demons, a brand as well in the NEFL, who got eliminated from the NEFL yesterday. They had a pretty tough time in the men's competition, but they've picked up the women's premiership, the UNSW Canberra Women's AFL Premiership, defeating Queanbeyan 6-7-43 to 5-1-31 in the 2018 Grand Final.
Well, they're well and truly enjoying it, Chris Coleman, and they had probably the best players in every position on the ground. We saw Shue dominating in defence in that second half. We saw Rose dominating in the ruck early. We saw Demant dominating in the forward line, and I guess that spine that they had, the key forward, the key back, the dominant ruck on the day, ultimately proving too good for the Queanbeyan Tigers, who put up a pretty good fight, but in the end the clock just beating them, and Eastlake winning the flag by 12 points.
It's been an interesting game, this one, this afternoon. And what I think we've also seen here, Eddie, is just the continued growth in the women's game. We've seen it at a national level with the AFLW competition, but the skill level in this AFL Canberra women's competition, it just continues to rise and continues to rise. We saw plenty of long bombs today. I still think the endurance is a question here. The skill level certainly dropped away in the second half of the game there, and in fact Eastlake didn't score a goal after half time. They were 6-4-40 at half time and 6-7-43 at the final siren for Queanbeyan. Really it was the lack of productivity in the third quarter that cost them. They scored 2 goals in the first, 2 goals in the second. They didn't get a goal in the third quarter, and just 1 goal in the last. Another goal in that third quarter might have made it much more different towards the end. Well,
it was that second quarter where Eastlake pulled away with 4 goals. That was the defining quarter for the Demons. Prince, I thought, was another good player there. Tegan Tismer was pretty busy for the Tigers. A pretty even performance from both sides. I thought Katie Rose clearly and also Annika Shue were the 2 standouts for Eastlake.
No, indeed. So just repeating those goal scorers for the Eastlake Demons, Karina Demont scored 2, and we hope that she is okay. She was, of course, stretchered off with about 7 minutes remaining, and by all reports she's going to be taken off to hospital by our ambulance with some sort of leg or hip injury, and I just hope she's okay. I've seen players go down like that and with very nasty hip injuries, so I just hope that she is okay. We don't know what caused it, but it may have just been that she slipped over. It may have been she copped a bump off the play that we didn't see, but she was the leading goal scorer, the only one with 2 for the game. Millie Drummond, Roanna Prince, Najwa Allen and Katie Rose with individual goals for the Eastlake Demons. For the Queanbeyan Tigers, it was Hannah Dunn, Tina Campbell, we had Megan Godfrey, Alana Bowyer and Alexia Hamilton who scored individual goals. Eddie, you've mentioned a couple of the players that you were particularly impressed by. Is there any other name you want to throw out there for us this evening?
Well, I think we need to commend the crowd, Chris. A fantastic turnout all day, but particularly for this women's grand final, and the crowd very much involved. A lot of passionate Queanbeyan Tigers fans, a lot of passionate Eastlake Demons fans who are celebrating at the moment, and they certainly played a role. The atmosphere that we saw this evening was sensational. Just a couple of those other players. I thought Annie Brearley really threw herself at the contest. Hosking as well. Drummond came into it late in the game. Dwyer and Dunn and Evans and Campbell were all pretty busy. The two Hamiltons as well from a Queanbeyan perspective, but just a little bit too much class for the Demons today.
No, indeed. A fascinating game of football, a fascinating day of football here. A number of close games across the course of the day. Congratulations to everyone involved today and across the season for 2018 for the AFL Canberra brand of footy. It has been a most enjoyable day, and we hope that you've enjoyed it all on the live streams via AFL Canberra or indeed via our replay action of our main games via NITV. On behalf of everyone involved at AFL Canberra, our guys behind the screen, behind the cameras and the commentary team, this is Chris Coleman saying thank you very much for your company from UNSW Canberra Oval, and we'll catch up with you again for season 2019.